Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I have a story for you that's going to challenge everything you think you know about truth, family, and the secrets we keep hidden away. Grab a comfy seat, because this is a long one, and it's going to stay with you long after the video ends. It all started innocently enough. My husband, Jerome, and I were planning a weekend getaway, and I hired a young woman named Brianna to clean the house while we were gone. She seemed sweet, professional. About an hour after she started, my phone rang. It was Brianna, her voice a terrified whisper. "Ma'am," she stammered, "is there anyone else in the house?" My heart pounded. I told her no, of course not. It was just her. Then she said something that sent a chill straight through me. I just saw a woman in a white dress on the second floor. My blood ran cold. I immediately told her to get out, to run, and I hung up, dialing 911 faster than I ever had in my life. I then sped home, my mind racing through every worst-case scenario. When I pulled up, police cars were everywhere. Officers were already inside, meticulously checking every room. But they found nothing. No intruder, no forced entry, no signs of anything amiss. Jerome, ever the logical one, dismissed it as shadows, Brianna's overactive imagination. But Brianna was deeply shaken, and honestly, so was I. It left an unsettling feeling that lingered, a whisper in the back of my mind. Months went by, life returned to normal. I eventually retired, looking forward to peaceful days with Jerome. But then, strange things started happening. I'd hear faint noises coming from the attic, soft rustlings, sometimes a quiet thud. I'd mention it to Jerome, but he'd just wave it off. "Old house settling," he'd say. Then, things got a little stranger. I'd notice certain foods missing from the pantry, specifically spicy sausage. Now, this was odd because Jerome absolutely hated anything with a kick. He preferred bland, simple flavors. I'd ask him, and he'd just shrug, claiming he must have forgotten or maybe our neighbor had borrowed something. One afternoon, Jerome and I had been out all day. We walked in, and I noticed the upstairs bathroom floor was damp, the air thick with steam. It was as if someone had just taken a shower. We'd been gone for hours. When I pointed it out, Jerome offered up some flimsy explanation about a leaky pipe or condensation. Each incident, small on its own, started to build a pattern, a quiet dissonance that grated on my nerves. One day, I was tidying up Jerome's study, a room he usually kept off limits. I stumbled upon an old, worn leather notebook tucked away beneath a pile of papers. My curiosity piqued. I opened it. Inside, I found page after page of elegant, handwritten story outlines. And they weren't just any stories. They were exactly like Jerome's famous novels, the ones that had brought him so much acclaim. But Jerome never wrote by hand. He was a devout devotee of his laptop, always typing, never putting pen to paper. The discovery sent a shiver down my spine. That very night, as we lay in bed, I heard it, a distinct creak from the attic hatch directly above our room. It wasn't the house settling. It sounded deliberate. I nudged Jerome, my voice low. "Did you hear that?" He just mumbled, turned over, and brushed me off, already half asleep. I lay awake for a long time, the pieces of the puzzle swirling in my mind, none of them fitting comfortably. A few days later, an editor Jerome worked with, a woman named Ms. Albright, came over to discuss a new project. Casually, she mentioned, "Your neighbor said she often sees a light burning up in your attic late at night." I froze. Jerome quickly changed the subject, laughing it off as a faulty outdoor light. But the seed was planted, watered by Brianna's terrified whisper. The missing food, the steamy bathroom, and that notebook. Then, Jerome abruptly announced he was leaving for a few weeks to find inspiration for his next book. He packed a small bag and left, leaving me alone with my thoughts. A few days later, Ms. Albright showed up again, this time looking distinctly agitated. She demanded an overdue manuscript from Jerome, clearly frustrated by his sudden absence. As she left, a fierce determination rose within me. I knew, deep down, that something was terribly wrong. I found a sturdy ladder, dragged it to the attic hatch, and with a surge of adrenaline, forced it open. What I saw next will forever be seared into my memory. Inside the attic, illuminated by a single, dim lamp, was a small, makeshift nest. A thin mattress, stacks of handwritten pages piled high, tins of food, and a bucket. And there, sitting amidst it all, was a gaunt woman in a yellowed white dress. My heart stopped. It was Alana, my sister Alana, who had vanished without a trace 30 years ago. She looked up at me, her eyes wide, filled with a mixture of terror and resignation. In halting, whispered words, she began to tell her story. A story that ripped my world apart. Alana, a young aspiring writer, had confronted her predatory editor, Darren Albright. In a moment of sheer terror and self-defense, she had struck him. Jerome, my Jerome, had witnessed the aftermath. Instead of calling the police, instead of helping her, he saw an opportunity. He refused to call authorities, instead burying Darren's body by the Ogeechee River. Then, he hid Alana in our attic, promising it would only be for a little while. But a little while turned into 30 years. Jerome had kept her prisoner, controlling her with threats that the truth of what happened to Darren, and the truth of her presence in our attic, would destroy me, would ruin our family. He stole her stories, the brilliant narratives she penned in her confinement, and published them as his own, building his entire acclaimed career on her stolen work. She confessed everything. The late-night showers when we were gone, the spicy sausage she adored, and I'd wondered about. The worn leather notebook that held the birth of Jerome's illustrious career. She told me she was tired. She wanted it to end. She wanted to surrender. With a heavy heart and a mind reeling from the betrayal, I took Alana to the police station. The investigation began immediately. Darren Albright's remains were recovered by the Ogeechee River, just as Alana described. Our attic was raided, Jerome's secrets exposed. A warrant was issued. Jerome was arrested without a fight, the facade of his life crumbling around him. But before Alana could even be released on bond, before she could truly taste freedom, the weight of 30 years of captivity, the trauma, the shame, proved too much. She died by suicide in custody. My world shattered again. The pain was unbearable. But Alana left me one final gift, a letter and a hidden manuscript in a wooden box. Her dying wish was that her work appear under her true name, Alana Lucia Whitlock. I edited and published her autobiography, a raw, powerful account of her life, her confinement, and Jerome's monstrous deceit. The world learned the truth. Jerome pled to a lattice of crimes: murder, kidnapping, literary theft, and was sentenced to life. And finally, Alana's voice, silenced and stolen for so long, rose from the dark into the light, touching countless hearts with her story of resilience and suffering. I turned the attic, her former prison, into a small library, a sanctuary dedicated to her memory and her words. I tell you this not to judge, but to ask. When fear builds cages, will we protect the lie or step into the truth? This story shows us that true courage isn't just about facing danger, but about confronting the uncomfortable truths within our own lives, no matter how painful. If this story moved you, please give this video a like And subscribe to the channel for more true life narratives that explore the human spirit. Let me know where you're listening from in the comments below. And your super thanks always helps me bring more incredible stories to life. On screen now are 2 other videos I recommend you check out next. With love and respect, may courage guide us all. Thank you for listening.